89 days. That is the entire distance between Hayden Panettiere sitting on a stage in a Manhattan bookstore, holding her own memoir, taking questions from Michael Strahan in front of a packed room. And tonight, when her representative confirmed to ABC News that she has died at 36, her rep's statement calls her an incredible light and a force of nature who brought immeasurable love and joy to all who knew her and to the millions who watched her on screen. Page 6, E! News, Fox News, and Yahoo all carried it within the hour. She would have turned 37 this Friday. A cause of death has not been released, and I am not going to guess at one. Not tonight, not later in this video. But here is why this one lands differently, and why I am not just reading you a headline. Normally, when we lose someone this young, we spend the next month guessing what she was carrying. We do not have to guess. She told us. She wrote it down, she put her name on the cover, and she published it 89 days ago. The book is called This Is Me, A Reckoning. Her publisher, Hachette, describes it as a rare and intimate look behind closed doors, postpartum depression, addiction and recovery, trauma, domestic abuse, and loss. It was an instant New York Times and USA Today bestseller. Within hours of release, it was #1 on Amazon's biography chart. And on launch night, she did the thing you do when you have decided you are finished hiding. She sat down in a bookstore in New York and took the questions. So tonight, instead of speculating, we are going to read her back to you. Because there is one section of that book that reviewers kept pointing at. The one they said she left almost completely blank. I will get to it. First, the backstory, because it explains the whole book. Hayden Panettiere has been famous since she was a toddler. Commercials before she could walk, daytime soaps before she was 5. By 2000, she was Cheryl Yost in Remember the Titans, the little girl in the ball cap who steals every scene she is in. Then Heroes in 2006, and Save the Cheerleader, Save the World became a sentence an entire generation could recite on command. She was 17 years old, and she was a global franchise. Then Nashville, Juliette Barnes, a chaotic, brilliant, self-destructing country star, and 2 Golden Globe nominations for playing her. That is the resume. Child actor, superhero, Golden Globe nominee, Scream survivor, more than 30 years of work by the age of 36. And running underneath all of it, the part a resume never shows you. She grew up inside the early 2000s tabloid machine. The era where a teenage girl's body, her boyfriends, and her worst nights were treated as public property and printed for profit. That is a chapter of the memoir. She names it. Here is the part I keep coming back to tonight. She did not wait for a scandal to force any of this out of her. She went first. In the memoir, she writes about postpartum depression, about alcoholism, about the decision, the word her book uses is heartbreaking, to give up custody of her daughter, a decision the internet spent years dragging her for, without knowing a single true detail of it. She writes about domestic abuse. I am not attaching anyone's name to that in this video, because I only repeat what is in the public record and reported by name. The abuse is in her book, in her words, as her account. And she writes about February 2023, which is where the whole thing cracks open. Her younger brother Jansen died that month in New York. He was 28. The family later confirmed to ABC News that he died of an enlarged heart, with complications involving the aortic valve. He was an actor too. They had been each other's entire childhood. Afterward, she told E! News she was riddled with guilt. She told Fox News she became agoraphobic, that she could not leave the house, that grief physically took her apart. That is the woman who then sat down and wrote a book about all of it. Not a redemption tour, not a comeback, a reckoning. She put the word in the title herself. Now, the section people said was missing. The reviews were not uniformly kind, and this is the part that hits differently tonight. Several reviewers noted that the book gets quieter as it goes, that the further you read, the less she gives you, and specifically, that she shares almost nothing about the months she actually spent in recovery. In May, that read like a flaw, a gap. Something an editor should have pushed harder on. Tonight, it reads like a woman who told you every single thing she had already survived and stopped at the part she was still living. That is not a scandal. That is a person who gave the public more honesty than the public ever gave back and kept one room for herself. Let me give you the receipts, because on a story this fresh, attribution is the whole job. The death was reported the evening of August 16th. ABC News confirmed it through her representative. TMZ reported she died that Sunday. Page 6, E! News, Fox News, Extra, IMDb, and Yahoo carried it inside the same window. Rolling Stone, The Hollywood Reporter, and Forbes followed. That is 7+ independent outlets on the same story within hours, which is exactly why I will say it plainly instead of hedging. This is confirmed. What is not confirmed, and what nobody has, is a cause of death. No outlet has one. No official finding has been released. If you see an account tonight telling you exactly what happened to her, that account is guessing. And guessing about a dead woman for engagement is the lowest thing this corner of the internet does. The book details are just as checkable. This Is Me, A Reckoning, published May 19th, 2026, by Hachette. Launch event at Barnes & Noble Union Square, in conversation with Michael Strahan. Instant New York Times and USA Today bestseller. There is even a small, sad footnote. Just Jared reported on launch day that some fans' signed copy orders were being canceled. In May, that was an irritating retail story. Tonight, a signed copy is a completely different object. So here is where I land. We are about to get a solid week of coverage about how she died. The outlets that built their traffic on her at 17 will run it hardest, and some of them will use the same photographs they once ran to humiliate her. The better version of this week is the one she handed us herself 89 days ago, with her name on the cover. She told her own story first, on purpose, so that nobody else could tell it wrong. That is The Reckoning. That was the entire point of the title. So my question for you, and I want it in the comments, what do you actually remember her as? Cheryl in Remember the Titans? Claire on Heroes? Juliet Barnes? Or the woman who, at 36, decided to say all of it out loud while she still could? And if any part of what she wrote about sounds like your own life, the drinking, the postpartum, the leaving, call or text 988. It is free, and it is 24 hours. She spent years being publicly honest so that other people would not feel like freaks for needing it. I will keep watching this one, because there will be an official statement and there will be a service, and I will cover both the way she deserved to be covered the first time. Rest easy, Hayden.